One choice, one moment, and suddenly the line between survival and destruction disappears. In Landman Season 3, grief doesn't fade, it transforms. And this time, it's not about who wins, it's about who survives what's coming. Season 3 begins in silence, but it's not a peaceful silence. It's the kind that follows something big falling apart. Mex is no longer standing, and the absence it leaves behind feels heavier than its presence ever did. People expected chaos, noise, maybe even a fight for control. But instead, there's nothing, just a quiet shift that changes everything. For Tommy, that silence becomes clarity. He doesn't try to rebuild what's gone. He doesn't chase the past. Instead, he walks away from it, choosing to create something new. Smaller, sharper, and built only with people he trusts. On the surface, it looks like a smart move. A fresh company, a clean direction, a team that knows their roles. Cooper steps in as president, carrying a title that feels bigger than he expected. Rebecca becomes the backbone, holding every piece together with precision. Nate watches the numbers, making sure nothing slips. It feels controlled. It feels focused. But what looks stable on the outside often hides pressure underneath. Because while Tommy is building forward, Cammy is standing still, surrounded by everything she lost. And loss like this doesn't just disappear, it stays, it grows, and eventually, it changes you. At first, there's a moment where it feels like she might let go, like she might accept that MEX is over. Maybe she sells what's left. Maybe she walks away. Maybe she chooses peace. But that moment is fragile, and it doesn't last. Because Cammy isn't built to walk away from something that defined her. EX wasn't just a company. It was her identity, her connection, her proof that she belonged in a world that doesn't forgive weakness. And now that it's gone, she's left with a question she can't ignore. If she lets this go, then who is she? That question becomes the beginning of her transformation. Not loud, not obvious, but real. The way she speaks starts to change. The way she listens becomes more focused. She doesn't react the way she used to. She watches more, says less, and thinks deeper. Every conversation becomes a piece of something bigger. Every silence becomes a decision. Slowly, without anyone noticing at first, Cammy stops being someone who is trying to recover and becomes someone who is preparing. Preparing for what? No one knows yet, but the shift is there. At the same time Tommy's new company starts moving forward, deals begin to form, connections start building, and for a moment, it feels like things might actually work. Like this fresh start might be real. Cooper begins to grow into his role, trying to prove he's more than just a name in the system. He listens, learns, and starts making decisions with confidence. Rebecca supports him, guiding without controlling. The team feels aligned, focused, ready, but in a world like this, progress always attracts attention. And attention brings pressure. It starts small, a deal that takes longer than expected, a partner who suddenly hesitates, a conversation that feels different, colder. At first, it doesn't seem connected, just normal business challenges. But Rebecca notices the pattern. The timing is too perfect, the resistance too consistent. This isn't random, this is controlled. Someone is influencing things from the outside, slowly tightening the space around them. Tommy feels it too, even if he doesn't say it right away. There's a shift in the way people respond to him, a caution that wasn't there before, like they've been warned or influenced. And when he starts looking closer, connecting the pieces, one name begins to surface without being spoken directly. Cammy. But what makes this dangerous isn't just that she's involved, it's how she's doing it. She's not attacking directly. She's not making noise, she's creating doubt. And doubt is more powerful than fear because it doesn't push people away instantly. It slowly pulls them back. It makes them question decisions. It makes them hesitate. And hesitation in this business is everything. While all of this builds, Cammy remains in the background, watching, learning, understanding every move Tommy and his team make. She knows his strengths, she knows his patterns, and more importantly, she knows the people around him. That's where the real strategy begins. Because taking down a company isn't always about direct confrontation. Sometimes it's about pressure, about making the right cracks appear in the right places. And somewhere in that growing pressure, a new realization starts to form. This isn't about rebuilding anymore. This isn't about moving on. This is something else, something deeper. Because Cammy isn't just reacting to what she lost. She's deciding what everyone else is about to lose. Pressure doesn't arrive all at once. It builds quietly until it's impossible to ignore. And for Cooper, that pressure is no longer something in the background. It's right in front of him, shaping every decision he makes. Being named president sounded like an opportunity, a chance to prove himself, to finally step out of the shadow of others. But now, it feels like something heavier. Every choice carries consequences. Every move has weight. And the truth is, Cooper isn't just leading a company. He's trying to hold it together while something unseen is slowly pulling it apart. At first, he handles it the right way. He listens more than he speaks. He takes advice from Rebecca, trusts Nate's instincts, and leans on Tommy's experience without depending on it completely. There's growth in him. Real growth. The kind that comes from pressure, not comfort. For a moment, it feels like he might actually become the leader everyone needs. But growth doesn't erase the past, and the past has a way of returning when things start to matter the most. The incident from before, the fight, the death, the story that was accepted but never fully believed, it's still there. Quiet, buried, but not gone. And now it's starting to move again. Not openly, not in ways that can be easily seen. But in this world, the most dangerous threats are the ones that don't announce themselves. Deals begin to slow. Investors become cautious. Certain doors that should be open suddenly close without explanation. At first, it feels like part of the larger pressure surrounding the company. But slowly, Cooper begins to realize this is something separate, something personal. There are people watching him. Not competitors, not business rivals, something else. People connected to that past moment. People who don't believe the official story. And more importantly, people who don't rely on rules or systems to handle things. They move differently, quietly, carefully. And now, they're starting to close in. This creates a different kind of tension inside Cooper. Because now he's not just protecting the company, he's protecting himself. And the more he tries to balance both, the harder it becomes. Every decision feels divided. Should he focus on keeping the business stable? Or should he deal with the growing threat that could destroy him personally? And the worst part? He can't fully talk about it. Not yet. Not without risking everything he's trying to protect. At the same time, his personal life becomes the one place where he feels grounded. Ariana represents something different, something real. With her, the pressure fades, even if only for a moment. She's not part of the business world, not part of the constant tension and strategy. She's stability. And for the first time, Cooper starts thinking beyond survival. He starts thinking about a future that isn't controlled by risk. A life that feels normal. Marriage, commitment, something lasting. But in a world like this, nothing stays separate for long. Because the higher Cooper rises, the more visible he becomes. And visibility brings vulnerability. The people watching him don't just see a businessman, they see a target. And if they want to send a message, they won't go after his position. They'll go after what matters to him. That's the part no one prepares you for. The cost of power isn't just what happens in the office, it's what follows you home. Suddenly, every moment of peace feels temporary. Every quiet moment carries a question behind it. How long will this last? Tommy starts to notice the change in Cooper before anyone else. The hesitation, the weight behind his decisions, the way he pauses just a second longer than he should. It's a familiar look, one Tommy has seen before, in people who are carrying too much at once. He believes in Cooper, he trusts him, but belief doesn't remove pressure, and it doesn't protect you from making the wrong choice at the wrong time. Because leadership isn't about always being right, it's about surviving when you're wrong. And Cooper is getting closer to a decision that could define everything. A choice between playing it safe, protecting what they've built, or taking a risk that could either secure their future or destroy it completely. Meanwhile, in the background, the unseen pressure continues to grow. The people watching Cooper aren't rushing. They're patient. They're studying him, learning his patterns, waiting for the moment when he's most exposed. And right now, that moment is getting closer. Because as the company faces external pressure and Cooper faces internal conflict, the line between business and personal begins to blur. And once that line disappears, there's no control left, only consequences. The deeper you go into power, the less you notice who is standing behind you and who is waiting for you to fall. And in Landman Season 3, that truth becomes impossible to ignore. While Cooper is struggling to hold his position together, Tommy is beginning to realize something far more unsettling. The enemy he is dealing with is not reacting anymore. It is shaping the battlefield. Deals that once felt easy now come with hesitation. People who once trusted him are suddenly careful with their words. Nothing is direct, nothing is obvious, but everything feels different. Like a pressure building under the surface of calm water. Rebecca sees it first in detail. She always does. Numbers don't lie to her, but they also don't explain everything. And what she is seeing now doesn't follow normal patterns. One deal falls apart without reason. Another gets delayed at the last moment. A third quietly disappears before it even begins. Individually, they look like business complications. Together, they look like control. Someone is guiding the resistance, not attacking, but steering. And even before the name is spoken, even before anyone admits it, the shadow behind it becomes clear. Cammy. But what makes this worse is not just what she is doing, it's how invisible she is while doing it. There are no loud moves, no direct confrontations, no emotional outbursts. Instead, there is distance, silence, and influence. She is not trying to break the company in one strike. She is slowing it down, making every step forward feel heavier than the last, making trust harder, making decisions slower. Because in business like this, speed is survival, and hesitation is collapse. Tommy starts feeling it in the field before he can fully explain it in words. Conversations that should open doors now feel like tests. People listen, but they don't commit. They agree, but they don't act. It is as if something has already been said about him, something he doesn't know. And slowly, the realization starts to settle in. This is not random resistance. This is coordinated doubt. And once Tommy connects it back to Cammy, something inside him shifts. Not surprise, recognition. Because he knows her kind of thinking. He understands what it means when someone stops reacting and starts planning. This is not about revenge in the emotional sense. This is structure, strategy, patience. She is not chasing him. She is surrounding him. At the same time, Cammy is no longer just watching from a distance. She is learning patterns. Who Tommy trusts, who hesitates under pressure, who speaks too much, who stays silent when things get tense. Every person around him becomes a point of study, because she understands something important. You don't break a system by attacking its center. You break it by weakening its connections. And while all of this is happening, the cracks inside Tommy's own team begin to show. Boss and Dale start feeling the strain first. Operations slow down, decisions take longer, frustration builds in small moments. Nothing dramatic, just enough tension to make coordination harder. And in a system that depends on unity, even small fractures begin to matter. Rebecca tries to hold it all together legally, structurally, strategically. But even she knows control is becoming limited. The more pressure they absorb, the less flexibility they have. Every solution creates a new problem somewhere else. Every defense exposes a new weakness. And then comes the most dangerous part, disagreement. Not conflict, not arguments, just different instincts pulling in different directions. Tommy wants to push forward, Rebecca wants caution. Cooper is stuck between urgency and fear. No one is fully wrong, but no one is fully aligned either. And alignment is what keeps systems alive, because while they debate, adjust, and hesitate, Cammy continues moving, quietly, patiently, always one step ahead of the reaction she is creating. She doesn't need to rush. She doesn't need to show herself. Because she understands the real truth of power better than most people in this world. You don't win by being seen. You win by controlling what others see. And right now, what Tommy sees is uncertainty. What Cooper feels is pressure. What Rebecca measures is instability. But what none of them fully realize yet is that all of it is connected. And Cammy is not just part of the story anymore. She is starting to become the reason the story is changing. When pressure stays long enough in one place, it doesn't just weaken structures, it changes people. And in Landman Season 3, that change is no longer subtle. It is visible in every decision, every silence, every hesitation that no one can afford anymore. Tommy understands it first as exhaustion, but quickly realizes it is something deeper. This is not just business pressure anymore. It is psychological warfare disguised as normal competition. Every step forward feels like it costs more than before. Every gain comes with a delay somewhere else. And worst of all, there is no clear enemy standing in front of him. Only effects, only consequences. Rebecca is now working at a level where prediction matters more than reaction. She starts mapping patterns instead of solving problems one by one, because the problems are no longer isolated. They are linked. One failed negotiation connects to another lost opportunity. One hesitation in the market echoes in another. And behind all of it, the same silent force keeps appearing. Cammy's influence, never direct, but always present. What makes this situation dangerous is not just Cammy's strategy. It is the patience behind it. She is not trying to shock the system. She is trying to fatigue it. Because systems don't always break from impact. Sometimes they break from exhaustion, from too many small stresses over time, from people slowly losing confidence in their own decisions. And that is exactly what is starting to happen. Inside Tommy's new company, the energy that once felt sharp and focused is beginning to stretch thin. Conversations that used to end in clarity now end in uncertainty. Decisions that once took minutes now take hours. And in that delay, doubt grows. Not loud doubt, quiet doubt. The kind that doesn't argue, but observes. Cooper feels it most directly. As president, every delay reflects on him. Every hesitation feels like a test he is failing slowly. He tries to stay composed, but pressure changes how people think. It makes even strong minds second-guess themselves. And Cooper, despite his growth, is still learning where his limits are. The worst part is that he cannot separate professional pressure from personal fear anymore. The two are blending together. At work, he is questioned by outcomes. In his personal life, he is haunted by things he cannot fully control. The past incident is no longer just a memory. It is a shadow that grows whenever things get unstable. And somewhere outside of their direct awareness, that shadow is being shaped by people who are not rushing. Watching, waiting, preparing. Cammy is no longer operating like someone reacting to loss. She is operating like someone rebuilding control, but not through ownership, through disruption. She does not need to take the company, she just needs to make it uncertain. Because uncertainty spreads faster than ownership ever could. Tommy starts noticing something that he cannot ignore anymore. People around him are not just cautious, they are influenced. Not openly, not directly, but in hesitation, in timing, in tone. It is as if someone has already told them a version of him they are now reacting to. And that realization changes everything, because now Tommy is not just building a company, he is defending perception. And in a world like this, perception is more powerful than truth. At the same time, Rebecca begins to feel the limits of strategy. No matter how well she predicts the next move, there is always another delay, another shift, another unexpected resistance. It is not chaos. It is design. And design means intelligence behind it. Boss and Dale begin to feel the pressure physically now. Long hours feel longer. Simple tasks feel heavier. The company is still functioning, but the rhythm is broken. And when rhythm breaks, efficiency follows. Inside this growing instability, trust becomes the most fragile element. Because when things go wrong without explanation, people stop trusting systems and start trusting fear. And fear always finds a target. Tommy starts asking the question he has been avoiding. Not what is happening, but who is making it happen? And every answer he finds leads him back to the same direction, even if no one says her name clearly. Cammy is no longer just part of the equation. She is becoming the center of it. But the most unsettling part is still ahead. Because what she has done so far is not destruction, it is preparation. And preparation always leads to action.